What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit about Stellar Blade. We got the big update that's coming actually tomorrow, so that's pretty exciting. But we also have an interview that was done with the developers yet again from Famitsu. Couple interesting tidbits in terms of future updates. So let's talk about the one that's literally happening tomorrow, and then we'll go into what actually is going to be coming down the road as well. So, I mean, they do a really good tweet that kind of just goes over it all, so let's just read through it. Adding a new boss challenge mode, replay against defeated bosses in multiple settings. You unlock a new costume called the Neuralink suit by defeating all the bosses. 2 new outfits as well can be obtained at Adam's Safe House. Fixed bugs such as unplayable sections, events not triggering, and trophies not being awarded. Added an auto lock-on option when exiting ranged mode. Added an option to always show the compass, basically the mini-map. Slightly increased the time limit for puzzles. Many other improvements have been made to controls, balance, and more. And they show the picture off of the actual boss challenge, which, by the way, pretty darn cool, because you actually, if you look in like the bottom right of it, right, elimination date, settings used, damage taken, perfect parry count, it's actually a pretty detailed like look at how you beat all these bosses. So you have that, and then the next picture is the outfit that you get for Eve. So let me just tell you something right now. I'm gonna have to fire this thing back up, and I'm gonna have to go through all those bosses in like one go. I think I can do it. I honestly think I can do it. Maybe not on like hard mode, but maybe on normal. So I mean, honestly, pretty darn big update. We knew, they were talking about the boss challenge or the boss rush mode. Super cool. I would honestly say probably more in depth than we thought. And then also 3 outfits in all. That's another thing we mentioned time and time again. What is the strengths of this game? What are things that you really have to focus on doing long term if you're going to do stuff, DLC or whatever? You have outfits, you have the exploration, and maybe that's how you get the outfits, but you just have outfits in general. And then you have the combat to figure out, whatever you want to do in the combat. And now the interview that they did talked a little bit about some of these things, right? And that's why I mentioned the mini map. That seemed to be a highlight, like keeping that mini map locked in if you want it. The auto lock thing is something they specifically talked about as well. But there's a couple interesting parts to the actual interview, and the ones that I actually want to focus on is, well, one big one is photo mode. So they're kind of asked point blank about photo mode, and they give probably the most direct answer that we've ever gotten, which is they're almost definitely doing it. I mean, in fact, the way they say it is basically they are doing it. It's just going to take some time, and it sounds like it's going to be more, because they literally say it's going to take a while, and they say to implement a function that simply stops time and takes a picture. I like the bluntness there, right, where it's like it's going to take so long just to do something like that. And they say we are considering various features, so please wait. As in, yeah, it might actually be more than that. Now, actually, the next part of it is the costumes. They added a lot of costumes in the update on the day of release. Will more be added? And they said, yes, some will be added on the 24th, but also there'll be costumes in the future as well. So honestly, it sounds a little bit like what we have talked about. After this boss rush thing is over, could they do more DLC? I mean, I think they might try, but costumes is probably, or outfits for Eve is probably the number one thing you can expect to get, maybe periodically, from this game. The only other big one, or couple big ones that I saw, is they do talk about like the potential of a sequel, and this is going to get into spoilers, so maybe we should kind of like let that be known. They talk about the choices at the end of taking Adam's hand or not taking his hand, and they even ask them like, hey, what did you do? And if you were to make a sequel, what would it be off of, like which ending? And they basically say they're considering, picking one basically as canon, or just making a whole new game. Now, I only half believe that, because they've talked about Eve before as like a kind of like a central protagonist, right? Like, I don't think they would let Eve go. So unless it's some sort of weird spin-off thing that has nothing to do with, even though it maybe would have Eve, I think you have to go with, and I mean, there is a literal true ending in this game. I got it. A lot of people got it, right? I think they would just pick the true ending. But they did talk about that. So, and they do say when they answer that they're like actively thinking about what the sequel would be. So, we talked about that a few days ago. There was another thing that talked about a sequel for Stellar Blade, or I think like a financial kind of thing. It very much seems like we're going to get it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, they go over some of the updates. They talk about like how's your reception, or what did you see the reception being from the fans and all that jazz. But I tried to pick like the biggest things that I saw are the most impactful things. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.